Hi everyone, I'm going to paint some nigella flowers today with a little bit of a sideways bee. So it's a little bit of a loose flower picture with a warm fuzzy bee in there. So I've got a bit of Saunders Waterford. It's 5 by 7 inches. I've got my Cotman palette, which I'll pop in the description. And I use the same 3 brushes for this beginner's series, around number 10, around number 6 and a rigger. So I keep it nice and simple. All my beginner's series ones, I use the same palette for the absolute beginners and the same brushes. Okay, so we're going to wet everywhere. This is with my round number 10, popping plenty of water on. I do not want puddles, I want a nice soft sheen. So I'm dipping into some cerulean blue. I'm going to get a little bit of a sky on. So nice and loose and quick. Bit of a diagonal angle. You can come all the way over this if you want to, with all this colour. I'm coming into some sap green. I'm just going to pop some bits of foliage down at the bottom. You can see I'm doing a upward stroke, dipping into the sap green, and a little bit of an upward stroke. I'm going to make one side higher and one side lower to give it a different composition. Give my brush a bit of a rinse. And then I'm going to choose the colours of my nigella flowers. So I am going to go with a bit of rose. I love permanent rose. I'm going to dot in a couple of bigger flowers. See that, how it's spread lovely? That's exactly what you want. I'm just dotting in a few times, just going to get a nice shape. Three is always a good number. I'm going to do a slightly smaller one behind. Then I'm going to make sure my brush is nicely loaded and I'm going to splatter. So we're just going to go like that, like that, like that. And now I need a different colour. I'm going to make a purple. So I'm going to take some of that rose and some ultramarine blue. You could use a cerulean blue as well. You could use a cobalt blue. You could use a purple if you have one. I want it to be quite bluey. I want it to be different. This is because this is a cotton paper, you've got time to do this. You can pre-mix if you're using a wood pulp paper so that you're ready to go. Watch the video first. Right, if you're going to splatter again. So I'm hitting my finger and creating splatter. Then I want to just dot in a few little nigella flowers. This shows how loose flowers can be. Just coming together nicely. So I've dropped down now to my number 6. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the ivory black. Ivory black is better than the Payne's grey. I've not got a lot of water on this brush. I'm just going to dot in to create that centre head in each of those flowers. I'm not bothered about the littler ones. This is just the bigger ones that I'm bothered about. Rinsing my brush really well, dabbing off. Going to create my bee now. I'm just waiting for the sheen to go a little bit. I'm going to start to activate my cadmium yellow. So round number 6 puts me more in control. You could even swap down smaller if you were nervous. You can see how thick this paint is. I want it nice and thick. Don't want much water on this brush. I want to know that that yellow is going to stay put. I'm going to pop my bee in here. So you're going bee shaped. We're going sideways bee. I've got another bee video where I've got a full sort of back view of a bee where you can see the wings really well. This one is a sideways one. So you've got a little bit more of a sort of kidney bean shape happening. You can see how that stayed put. It's still wet enough for it to create that fuzziness. Not too wet that it flows, so like the flowers flowed out. Then I'm going to use the ivory black. If you haven't got ivory black, I would say don't use Payne's Grey because it's too shooty. Use a mixture of something like ultramarine and burnt umber to make a black. And then I'm going to come on and create the rest of my bee. So let's get the stripes in. Lovely fuzzy stripes. So the sheen is just going, so it's just the perfect consistency to get this lovely bee shape. You can just fiddle with it a little bit. You can see that beautiful bee shape. I'm going to take my rigger. Again, not a lot of water. Really activate the paint. If you're worried about it having too much water on, dab it off on some kitchen towel before you come on. The bees have got quite fuzzy legs. So if we do this bit now, I'm going to get that fuzziness on the top of the legs. It's going to come onto the flower. So my other bee was in flight, that's on the lavender flowers, which you can search on my channel. This one's on the flower. You can't see everything there, but that's a really nice sweet bee. So with my round number 6 now, I'm going to come back into the rose. Make sure I've got a little bit of water on. I'm going to start to focus on this one flower. So this is still actually wet enough for me to play with it a little bit. So I'm just shaping the petals within that shape. And do a little bit on this one as well. This one's more a few wiggles. You'll just get a really, really nice shape. So we'll focus on those 3 bigger flowers. If I come underneath and leave a little bit of a gap, I'm going to get that extra layer of flowers just here as well. I'm going to dip into that purple. Just bring a bit of that, the shadow within there. Picking up the sap green. To get that a little shape underneath. This is still with my number 6, but then I'm going to come down to my rigger. Nice flow. If you struggle to get a downwards flow, sometimes harder when you're doing something like this, if you twizzle round, it makes it a bit easier. This is why I always keep things on a board. When you're doing something this way, you've got the natural arch from your elbow, which means you're getting that nice angle nice and easily. It's these little tips that really help. So I'm just going to do a few flowy lines because we're keeping this nice and loose. Just connects everything together. Keep dipping back in. So this is just sap green flowing through. If I rinse that out, I'm going to take a little bit of the cerulean blue in. Just nice to mix up and have another colour in there. And we're using the colours that we've used in the background, so it should have a really nice synergy. Twizzle that round. That's looking really pretty already. And this whole sort of combination of mixing on nearly dry paper just works so lovely on loose. I'm just adding a few more in now in this way. I'm just blending through, and there's not even any paint on the brush here. In fact, you could do it with a bit of water. It's really nice to give it that extra dimension. The water sort of just lets it flow. So like a free flow action. Okay, we'll dry that off and just add a little bit of detail to the bee. Okay, so that's nicely dry. I've come down to my rigger again. I'm going to come into this ivory black, and what I want to do is just create a bit more of a sharpness. I'm going to add an extra few bits, and then I want to start to create the shape of the wing. If I pop in a little line there and a little line here, it's like a little curvy line. Make sure these are long enough. I'm going to come into that centre a little bit more with the ivory back and just pull out a little bit. I just want to make a bit more of this flower. So this is the rose I'm bringing back in. So I've hit a full petal here. I've hit half a petal there, I've hit half a petal there. That's just giving it a little bit more oomph. If I take a tiny bit of the cerulean blue in as well, that's going to give it a bit of shadow. It's all about just bringing it out a little bit more. Then with a wet brush, if I just dab onto some kitchen towel, I'm just going to soften in those edges. Just bring that in a little bit there. Okay, so now I've let that settle. I've got this nice hard line. With my round number 6, I'm going to come and just dab, dab, dab. I'm scrubbing at that area of the wing. So I'm going to take some of the black away and some of the paint away. Then just dab. And it's going to lift to show a bee. Now with some papers it will lift really well, depending on the size of the paper. Some papers it won't lift so well. If it lifts too well, you'll have to add a little bit of colour back in. You base this, the ivory black should lift quite well. So you're going to end up with a very, very fine line. Just make sure your kitchen towel's clean. And just your brush is clean and just keep going. And dab again. See, I've got some really nice wings there now. Without too much effort. Do look at the wings and think, actually, do I need a bit of colour back in? So mine's lifted very well. So the wings are see-through, so you should be able to see through. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of that green back in. So this is just in case it lifts too well. And I'm just going to take a little bit of yellow back in there. Just a dab of each. Okay, so I'll dry that one off and take the tape off. Okay, so I've not quite taken the tape off because I've decided I want to put some additional splatter on. So you can go splatter on to dry as well. So this is a little bit of cerulean blue. This all adds to the loose effect. And I'm going to do a little bit of rose as well. If you hit your bee, just dab it off. You just dried it, so it will just dab off. There we go. But it just adds something to the looseness of it. There we go, just dab those bits off. So if I take the tape off for you, we have a beautiful, you never really see me take the tape off. It just shows you how I peel off. It just gives a really nice border. So this is framing tape. Just like masking tape. And there we go, we've got a beautiful loose bee on nigella flowers. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share. I'll pop a playlist here and another video here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.